guys, this is Allison Pryor, and I just thought to do a short video for you today because these are 3 must-haves for all your paintings. If you do this, every painting will come out really nice, and it'll stand out, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. So first of all, we get started. A lot of people who are just beginning to paint, just paint on their, say we're going to do a tree. Okay, so let's just do a tree. I just got a bit of paint on my palette here, and it's just brown, black, blue, yellow, and green for now. And I'm just going to take some little bit of black and brown. Just say when you're doing your tree, you'll make your trunk. So you make your trunk, and then when you do your trunk, then you're going to do your branches. So you do some branches. So this is the way you would normally do it. This is the way most people who just start painting, could be beginners, could be somebody who's at it for years, and they get lost sometimes, as I gotten lost before. And now what you're going to do is you're just going to put your branches on, because you're just going to paint a basic tree. Okay, so when you get your branches on, then you're going to put on, so you're doing your painting now. This is your normal painting. So this is not the, this is just your subject that you're painting. Okay, and now you're going to put on your leaves. So you dip into, you get some of your first colors, which is usually dark color. So you get a darker color green, just so that you can have some underpainting. So there we go. So see how nice that, I just put in a bit of blue with my green, just so it'll darken the leaves. Okay, so there's your tree. So you're like, oh, that's nice. I don't need anything else to do with that. It looks so nice. So we just put on our tree, and then put on more leaves, depending on how many you want and how big you want your tree. And it looks like that. That's cool. And then you say, now I'd like to have it sitting on a piece of land. So you take a piece of land, and maybe you got brown and black going on here, and you put your land down. So these are just the basic colors. These is more like underpainting. And then you say maybe there's some grass on there, so you put some grass. Oops, so you put some grass on there. So there's your grass. And then maybe that is sitting on some water. So put some blue paint for water. And we'll add a little bit of white to that blue paint, just so that we can, because it's a bit too dark. Now I probably should have had this done before because all I'm trying to do is show you a basic painting that you would do and think it's finished. Okay, so you look at that now and you'll say, you know, that's not bad. I think, you know, I think that's pretty well done. Just put bits of grass up there. So now you're painting, in some people's minds, they think it's done, right? And that's okay. So now here are the 3 must-haves for all your paintings. Okay, so you can do it in step by step. So say you want, the first thing you would want to do is some highlights. So then you can highlight. So highlights are 1. So you'll take, now you have your dark on first. So think of 3 values: dark, medium, and light. Okay, in everything that you do, dark, medium, light. So dark, medium, light. So you got your darks on first, and now you're going to take a medium, which is just a green without the blue, and you're going to tap on over what you just did, but keep the darks underneath. Okay, so we'll do our medium. Okay, we're doing some highlights. this bit of green. All right. So then you can shape up your tree a little bit better if you want to. You can start moving the paint around. Just make sure that you don't cover up what's underneath it, that's all. Just dab it here and there. Okay, so now you got your dark and your medium on your tree. Now you want to add your medium onto your grass. So there we get some grass. Don't cover up all the dark, okay? There's just tap it on lightly. Good. And over your other grass here is pull up. Good. See, as you layer it, then you're going to get more thicker. And then you're going to add a little bit of you got your dark for your land here. So now you're going to put a little more highlight on that. So your medium highlight, 'cause you got your dark. Now you're going to have some medium. Good. And then for your water, we'll lighten up your water a little bit. We don't want to get too light yet. This is your second highlight. Okay. Good. So now, what you're going to do is your third highlight, so your brightest highlights. So that's 3 values. So 3 values. So now we're going to go into yellow. I get a little bit of green in there if you want, some yellow. And just tap on what you already did again. And don't cover up everything underneath, okay? Just tap here and there, just so that you don't, you can even just tap on like this. Tap, 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 tap. And tap, 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 tap. That's a funny looking tree. So getting the shape of the tree is important, as you can see. That tree looks like it needs some work. So just showing you the highlights. Okay. So you put the highlights over what you already did, but keep some. You can see that you keep some of the darks. Right. So when you get all your highlights on, so we'll assume you will decide where the light is coming in. So it's coming in from the right. This side will be lighter than the left side, so the right side will be lighter. So now you want to put your highlights on your grass. So you'll put some highlights on your grass, and that will brighten that up. And you can put some on the ones that are standing up. Good. And then you can put more highlights on your land. So you just add a little bit of brown, a bit of yellow to your brown, and that lighten it up a bit more. So you just add some highlights to your land. Good. And if you want a little bit brighter, so you got your medium, dark, medium, and bright. So you get some highlights there. You're good. Now you got your land, and you got your grass, and you got your tree. And now you got your water. So we got the highlights done. You don't have to do this in order. You can do it how you feel. So when I get it all together for you, you'll be able to understand where I'm coming from. So the second one I'm going to do are reflections. So whenever you got something sitting on water, you should bring down some reflections. So you can bring the reflection of the tree down. We'll just do the trunk there for now. So you bring the tree down like that. Good. And you bring down a bit of land. And you bring down a bit of grass. The grass comes here. Okay. So you bring your green on there. Good. That's your reflections. There's your reflections. Okay. Now they're underwater, so you don't have to worry about them being perfect. So that's your reflections. Then you can do some highlights on your reflection. So as you go along, you'll do these 3 steps, and your paintings will be more fun. Now we're going to do, let's think again, highlights. Highlights. Where else can we put highlights? Can you see where we can put highlights here? I can see a place. So once you think highlights, you're going to go, where can I put highlights? Oh, okay, the sun is shining over here, so I'll put a few highlights on the edge of this tree here, and of course in the water, because you're also reflecting your light down there too. So another thing is, the third thing is shadows. So a shadow is your third must-have, okay? So what you do is you get use whatever brushes you need, because every painting is different. So you're going to need different brushes to work with, okay? Smaller the brush, the smaller the area, the smaller the brush, okay? Larger the area, the larger the brush. Now, so we'll touch up our highlight, because that's a medium highlight. Now I want the brightest highlight we can get. And the edge here like this. And on the edge here like this. Try not to cover up what you already did. So you're trying to see 3 values actually. Okay, so there. So now we're going to go with shadows, we said. Now it's hard to find shadows there, but say you need more shadow on the back of the tree just to darken it up, straighten it up, okay? So there's more shadow there, more shadow underneath here, more shadow here. And at that tree, if you could see that tree there, you could put a shadow in the grass. All right. So that's how you would do it. So here's what I'm trying to show you. You do 3, I've got it written down here so I won't forget. 3 must-haves for all your paintings. So you do your painting, and that's your basic colors, what you're going to use, just your underpainting, we'll call it, right? So you get your shapes, and your tree, you'll have a dark green, and keep everything a little dark underneath unless you're doing a really light colors to start with. Then the second, you can start either with shadows, or you could, highlights. So 3 of them are shadows, reflections, and highlights. Write that down. Shadows, reflections, highlights. And you can put them on. And when you look at your painting, you look at, okay, where can I put shadows? Where can I put reflections? Because you won't always need reflections unless it's on a glass table or and water. And where can I put highlights? So I'm looking at this here now, and I'm seeing that, where else can I put highlights? So if you think about it, then you won't forget. So let me see, where can I put highlights on that painting? I haven't got it all done. There must be a spot I can put highlights as soon as I can get my paint on the go. All right. So now I see the water. Okay, the water doesn't have any highlights yet. Okay, I was waiting for it to dry actually. So I'm going to put my second value of highlight with a bluish white, and I'm going to put some water lines over what I got done, and that will give you the look of being underwater. See? And that's all you need. You can drag it over too if you like this. And then it looks like it's underwater. Okay, so that's basically, the tree is terrible, I know. So if your tree is really, really terrible, you can redo it. I did this tree earlier, so I can get it ready to show you. And that tree looks much nicer because I took my time. And there's the reflections. And the next one I did was, we can do the apple, so I can show you where the highlights, the shadows, and the reflections can go. Let's see what we can do with that. Okay, so if you don't like your tree, you can always go back over it. Like I said, I'm doing a video, so I should be taking my time more, but you know, so if you don't like it, you can go back in and change it up. Excuse me, and change it up. Make it nicer shape. Just add some shapes to it. A little bit better. And then you can put on your values again. So you put on your medium green. And then your highlights, your brightest highlights. Because when you go, think to yourself, dark, medium, and the brightest highlights last. Okay, a little bit better there. Okay, so, and the sun is coming in over here on this side, so you get a little more brightness on that side, because in the back then is your shadows and your reflections. Okay, now let's try an apple, because you can apply this to all your paintings. Okay, all your paintings, whether you paint mountains or skies or boats, portraits, anything. Make sure you have your 3 values. So you start off with your underpainting, and then you do your basic shapes and your basic color, and then you use your 3 must-haves, which is shadows, reflections, and highlights. So let's try an apple. Let's try an apple. So you can take any brush that you're comfortable with, and you get some red paint, and you put the red paint on. Now red is a little bit transparent, so you may need 2 coats, but it's going to be the one color, so we're not making any changes to the color. Okay, so you just want to get the shape of your apple, and you want to get that down first. Okay, so get your apple on there. So you can either draw it first, or you can take a chance and make a circle. Okay, so we'll put our apple on. See, as you can see, the paint is a bit transparent. Good. Now you put your apple on. So we have an apple. But as you can see, it's a little transparent, so we're going to need a second coat. So while we're waiting for a second coat, then you just put on your basic color for your stem. Let's put the stem up here so we can straighten it up a little bit. Okay, so we'll just put a little stem on there. Bring it down inside the apple, so that stem looks like it's inside the apple. And then we'll put on a basic, leaf. Alright, so just put your basic color on, your basic green. Just put a leaf on there, and a leaf on there. That green is not very good. My brush is too dirty, so just be careful with your brushes and your paints. If you want a pure green, then you're better off cleaning your brush. And put some green on your palette and start fresh. Don't want to teach any bad habits. Okay, so when that dries, we can go back over it. Okay, that's a better green there. Now, so now we look at our apple. Okay, we got an apple done. So what do we need? Well, like we said, it's transparent, so we need some extra red on there. So I'm just putting exactly the same color on as I did before. And I'm just making it more opaque. Okay, opaque, so that you can't see through it or it doesn't look transparent. Now, there we go. Now let's look at our apple. We have brown, green, and red, and that's it. So if you look at this apple, just because we added highlights, that just brought it to life. Okay, so now we're going to add some highlights. So you can do your highlights next, and like I said, they don't have to be in any special order. Just have a look at your painting and see what you think needs, but as long as you're saying to yourself, highlights, shadows, reflections. If it doesn't need reflections, you don't have to put them in. Highlights and shadows. And 3 values, okay? 3 values. So now we have the red. And now we're going to add let's work wet on wet. So let's put some yellow into our red. All right, make sure that the paint is wet, so that you're putting on your second value of yellow. And now that's your another highlight, but now you're having another highlight that's really bright. You want to get the brightest highlight last, okay? So highlights, when you do your highlights, you can put on, you know, a couple of coats of highlights, but you got to get brighter and brighter and brighter. Okay, there we go. A little bit of highlight here. So I'm putting on my highest highlights on my apple. Good. Now, what we're going to do now is put a highlight on our leaf. Little highlight and a little highlight on the other one. See how I'm keeping the green? Now you might say, but you didn't do your second one. That's true, I didn't. I didn't do my second value. So if you remembered that, then that means you're learning. So the second value for the stem is a little bit of brown with a little bit of white added to it, so that we can get a second value. Don't cover up all the dark. And now the brightest value, which could be yellow, a little bit of white, and put a bit of a highlight on there. Okay, so that's that. Now, so the next one we got to do, okay, so we did our basic apple. We put on our second value, put on our highlight. Now our shadows. Now our shadows are, I take my red, because it's the basic red, and I add a little bit of blue to it to give it a purplish look. And then that will be my shadow for my apple. So however dark you want it, or light, as long as you add a bit of blue, that will purple it up for you. And that will give you a shadow. So we'll put a shadow over here for now. Depends on where you want the light to come from. Right? So we'll say the light is coming in this way. Good. Wipe off your brush. Clean off your brush so that you can get those shadows. You don't want to overpower your apple. You just want shadows there so that it looks... Okay, so there we go. So now, what else does it need? Do you think you think maybe more highlights? Well, maybe we could add more highlights. So let's go even brighter again, add some white to our yellow. Maybe we'll put some highlights over here. Put that on there. Now, there we go. That brightened it up a little bit. And then take white, plain white, and just add a couple of lights shining on your apple. Now, then you might say, where else can we put a shadow? Well, you don't want the apple floating around in there, in the ear, so we'll take the shadow color, red and blue, and we'll put a shadow. So if the light is coming in this way, then the shadow is going to be bigger on the back, on the right. So we'll sit it down on a shadow. There we go. Sit it down on a shadow, and that makes it look like it's sitting on a shadow. So that's that. Good. Now let's see what else. We'll do another one. How about, let's see. Take any painting that you want to do, and when you start your painting, have a look at it and think to yourself, highlights, shadows, reflections, and 3 values. So when you're doing your highlights, you can do them like you have your green tree, and then you'll have a medium green and a very light green, okay? So 3 and 3, 3 highlights. So the basic color, medium color, and the brightest color. And then the reflections, you basically do the reflections the same as you did to the original tree. If you want to go down further, you could add it more here. More tree. And shadows. So let's see what else we can do. Let's see. I could show you probably some trees in some snow. So I'll just do a quick one, and then maybe I'll do some more later. I'll get you to email me and ask me, you know, give me some things that you would like me to show you. Well, you could put highlights and shadows and reflections on. You can send me your, you know what would be fun? If you sent me a picture of your painting, and I could repaint it just for fun and add some highlights and shadows and reflections if it needs it, and just for fun, and see how it turns out. I think I would enjoy doing that, and I think you would probably enjoy seeing a difference. If you love your painting, you don't want to change, I won't be touching your painting. I'll be just repainting it by the picture you sent me. So your painting will be original. It won't be touched. Now, what was I going to do? Some trees. So with some trees, you could use a fan brush and some black paint. So let's see. I was just going to try and do this little one here. Show you some. See, same if you were doing some mountains, you'll get a reflection. Highlights, reflection, shadows. See, tree. You get a tree. You get your dark, and you got your medium, and you got your highlights. I don't think I finished that one though. So I'll try one more, and then I will move on to another video. So now we'll take, let's take some snow first. So make some snow. You can probably make a little bit of a purplish snow just for your underpainting, right? So sometimes you make an underpainting. So you can make some snow shadows, okay? Well, snow underpainting, I should say, because we don't want to get into the shadows yet. But these are going to be under the snow, so they're going to be like shadows. So all you do is think to yourself, I need shadow. If you just put white on, just put the shadows in after. You can do it that way too. You can do it the opposite way, all right? So it doesn't have to be this way. It can be white with a little bit of blue and white, and you can have your snow start at lightly, a light color. Then you can put your shadows in after. A little bit of shadow here, and a little bit of shadow there. I find this way better, for me anyway, but for you, it might, whatever way it works for you. Okay, so now you got the snow down, and that's just a basic snow, and now you're going to do your trees. So just a couple of basic trees. Whoops, get a top and then touch. A little fan brush, black, touch, and then come down. I'm just going to put a couple there. I don't want to take a couple of little trees in between. Trees. A couple of smaller ones. Alright, so then we'll just have that. And then what we'll do is we will say we want a nice little cabin on top of your snow. So you have a little house or cabin. So you can draw it out first, or you can just sketch it out. I'm just going to go quickly there for you. So just get your little house sketched in. There we go. Good. Little cabin or whatever you want to put there. Now, so what you do next is, now you're looking at it. Now you have started. Now what are you thinking about? Now how do I, what do I do next? Highlight if you want to. Highlighting. But we may not have any reflections there because maybe we can. Let's think about it after. So we got our basic painting started. Now to bring it out a little bit, let's get some highlights. So now we'll highlight the snow. So let's highlight the snow, and we'll just pull on some white. And that's it. Just leave some shadows. Now you'll work on this a lot more than I will. You can take your time when you do your paintings. Take your time. All you have to do is think about what you need, where you can put your shadows and your highlights and your reflections, okay? So I'm just throwing on a bit of white, trying not to lose on my underpainting. Right? That's okay, because we're putting on our highlights here. We're going to put on our highlights on our trees. They're a bit wet there now. So what we'll do is we'll take some of the tree. There's some shadows coming off the trees to come into your snow. All right. There might be a little shadow here coming off the house. You think about where you can put your shadows. All right. Just think about it. So just put some shadows in there from your trees. Good. We'll put some more, and you can put more highlights on. Just because you feel like it's finished, you could still add more highlights to it, just as long as you don't cover up everything underneath. The more you layer your paint with highlights and extra colors, it brings it out, makes it thicker. See how the apple came alive when I put the extra highlights on there on the shadows? So, so for the trees, we'll put on some highlights on the trees. So I'm going to put a bit of the medium highlight on, which is going to be my green. And I'm just going back over it again like I did. Tap, tap, tap. Okay, so that's it. That's just to bring out the trees a little bit. And don't forget, if you really lose all your black, you can always go back and put more black in there. Okay? So you're going back and forth as long as you get your highlights on there. And then you're going to highlight your house. So we'll highlight our house. So all you have to do is get a brush. Smaller the painting, smaller the brush. Alright, so now what we're going to do is go into some white. Because we have black, we're going to go into a gray because that's our medium value. And then you're just going to pull down very gently, barely touching some of these highlights. Okay, there we go. A little bit on the edge. That's that. And then that's those highlights. That's the medium highlights. Now let's do the brightest highlights. So the brightest highlights will be a little bit more white on the edge, especially if you want a bit of snow on there. If you want a little bit of snow, you can put that on there and tap it on, or you can pull it on and brighten up the front of the house a little. Just add more white to your gray and pull down some more highlights, brighter highlights. Your third highlight, and then we'll put in some shadows. So now we'll take the door, put the door in. There we go, you got a door. Then you can straighten up your painting and fix it up the way you want it. Some shadows underneath the ledge of the roof, straighten that up. Bring a little bit down in to make it look like wood. And maybe a little path or a little shadow into the path a little bit. And then you got your shadows on your trees. So now you might go back and say, well, maybe I like to have some more highlights on the snow. So you just take some bright white and put your snow wherever you want it. But this time, just little bits of it, so that you get to keep some of your shadows and your, there we go. And you bring it over a little bit on your, these shadows, a little bit here, a little bit there. Good. So, and then, oh, we need a little more highlight on the trees because we got a bit of snow going on there. So we'll just put a little bit of snow on some of the edges here. You know. These trees are just straight up and down, so we'll just put a little bit of, this is your last highlight for your trees. Like I said, if you want more, just use your brush, just put more on. So that's it. I'm going to leave that because I think that's enough to show you those 3 must-haves for all your paintings, okay? Shadows, reflections, and highlights. Reflections, whenever you got water, reflect anything that's on top of the water into the water. It could be a rock. Well, here, I'll do a rock for you. So pretend let's get some water going. So put some water here. And we got a rock sitting on top of the water. So I'm just going to make a basic rock with some black. I'm just going to make my line and my hump and my rock. Make it big enough so you can see it. Good. So you make your basic rock, and then you make a little reflection. So that's your reflection. Okay, it gets pretty close here because we're going to put a water line there. And then you're going, so that's your rock, that's your basic rock. And now you're going to do your medium value to put some highlight on there. You can have any color you want, as long as it can be a lighter gray, or start at the top of your rock and just pull down some, just pick out some spots that you want to put there, because we're going to put more in a minute. Okay, and that's your medium highlight, and now the lightest. Good. Just start at the top and then move your paint around. A little bit of highlight here. Good. Now you look at it and you say, now what else can I do with that rock? It's got highlights on it, but it still might need something else. Maybe it needs shadows. So you could put shadows of little lines in there to give crevices. There's shadows. Alright, so then you're thinking shadows. Now you're thinking, okay, we got our highlights done. How can we make that where else can I put highlights? Well, you want to make it realistic looking. So always put some water lines on top. So that will also be your highlights. So you put a little water line over here, separate them, see? And then when that dries, you're better off waiting till it dries, but I'm gonna just continue. So you put some water lines over that to make it look like it's underwater, okay? So all you have to think is those three things, and every one of your paintings will be so much better. And if you say, you can still go back and put more highlights on it if you want to. You can even use your fan brush. So that's it. I hope that helped you a little bit. So think about that. Like I said, if you want to send me your paintings and all the, or you can try and show me your original painting and try adding some highlights, shadows, and reflections and see the difference. And it really helps a lot, I must say. It really brings out your paintings. It helps a lot. See that? See all those nice highlights on that tree? There and there. Isn't that nice? It's nicer than the other tree because I didn't do a video. I was just practicing and it's easier. See? Shadows, highlights, basic colors, reflections, your apple, right? It's better than just red. Got a bit of a reflection there. So that's it. Hopefully that's a help for you. So there's your shadow with your apple. There's your, so you can see all the details that I put in there are just highlights, reflections, and shadows on top of your basic colors. Okay, that's it. Have fun, and